Hey Ben, what's number 7?
Number 7 on my list is, well, it was Dead of Winter, but it's now Dead of Winter, The Long Night.
Oh shit, we need to change this.
Because, well, I'll get into it a little bit more, but the reason that I like Dead of Winter is that it's a heavily thematic game, and it just basically oozes like a zombie with theme throughout the whole thing as you're playing it. Like it's got a lot of the things that I really like about these kind of games, like Battlestar Galactica and stuff like that.
Semi-cooperative.
Where it's semi-cooperative.
Traitor.
There's got that traitor mechanic in there, but it deals more a little bit in that sense of like the Walking Dead feel to things.
But good.
But good. In that it focuses in on human to human interaction almost as much as it does with the zombies.
They're the really scary thing. Not
because
the
zombies are, probably going to kill you, but it's the humans and the sort of scrapes that you get into. That
Zombies are more like environmental hazards.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing malicious about a zombie.
The zombies are like, a little bit weirdly, the waste in the game, where it's something you have to control.
Yes, I know what I mean.
And it was created by us, man.
But yeah, it's just one of those games that really always hits the nail on the head whenever I play it. Like, I really enjoy playing it. I always have fun, even if I don't win.
Yeah.
Like
in terms of story, that is a game full. Like when you finish a game of Dead of Winter, you will go back and you will say, "Oh my god, man! When you moved to the colony, and if we had a bite, it would have been."
There are games that build narrative just naturally when you play them.
Yeah.
For example, Battlestar Galactica and things like that.
Yeah.
But then there's the added aspect of the crossroads cards built into Dead of Winter.
Yeah. The crossroad cards.
They elevate the game to another
so
level
much.
because they help to not only expand upon the world, but they also go into a little bit more detail about some of the characters that you might not have thought about, so you learn a bit more about them.
True.
But they also enforce decisions. Now, when it comes to the crossword cards,
when it
comes to the crossroad cards, the cryptic crossword cards,
the Hadouken cards,
the app
Hadouken.
version,
Hadouken cards.
the app version of the crossroad cards is decidedly better than the cards themselves, and I heartily recommend getting the app.
Like 59p or something.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't tell you the outcomes of your decision.
So important.
Yes.
So
in a game so heavily dripping in theme,
Yeah.
to see the mechanical output of your decision makes so little
but
sense.
in terms of cards, there's no way of avoiding that.
Yeah.
But that app is what is the best board game app.
Like when we play it now,
yeah,
it's effectively like cover the bottom of the card effectively.
Yeah.
And just read the top.
Unfortunately, at the moment, the app isn't available for the long night.
Not for long night.
Will we though?
Yeah,
it won't take that long.
It just isn't at the moment.
Talking about the long night.
Oh yeah, so why the long night rather than
night?
Because you haven't played all of the long night.
No. Well, we've played the 2 basic missions for it that introduce you to both the super zombies, which are effectively the Left 4 Dead element. Creepers and stuff like that.
Tank!
And then there's the Bandit expansion, which also makes it a lot more like The Walking Dead than it is about zombies.
Yeah, we haven't put in the
the building.
The Wrexham.
No,
that's
the Wrexham one in.
Oh.
Yeah, we haven't put in the
But we've done the
one.
story versions of both. We've done the story introductions for both Wrexham and the Bandit.
I thought there were 4 modules.
No.
3 modules in the game.
Yeah. But
Wrexham is.
So you could go to Wrexham in
Yes.
Oh, okay then.
But the thing that elevates it beyond the regular Dead of Winter is that it's just simply better.
Okay, question. If you didn't have the long night, would Dead of Winter be where it is on your list? Answer yes, because it was on the list before you went.
It was there originally, but the long night effectively just supersedes it. And to quote Shut Up and Sit Down in their sort of gameplay review of this, if you own Dead of Winter, you buy Long Night.
Yeah.
If you are looking to buy Dead of Winter, just buy the Long Night. There's no reason to buy Dead of Winter.
The only thing I can think
because
of...
it's a self-contained game that has pretty much everything you need to play in it.
Yeah,
with all the the same amount of characters basically.
Doesn't have the same amount of characters.
Doesn't it?
No, it doesn't have the same amount of characters. The only thing the base game now really brings is the characters,
I guess,
and the crossroads cards.
They could easily start that by just.
There are only crossroad cards in the long night.
No, there are crossroad cards.
There are, but again, specific for the long.
No, there are some specific ones, but then there are a lot of general ones.
Okay.
But I genuinely think that you could get away with just having the long night.
But would you ever recommend that to somebody?
I would. I'd say if you've not bought, for example, if you've bought the long night, and you've enjoyed playing it, you probably don't need to buy Dead of
No.
Winter.
That's so sad. The Long Night is such a worse name.
It's such a shame now
It's
that
Dead of Winter, The Long Night.
Yeah.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but like no one's going to call it that, are they?
it's such a shame now that in a way it's a shame that the Long Night came with enough material in it to be standalone.
Yeah, I wish it was just an expansion.
Yeah, because now it makes the original game an expansion.
Yeah,
Because
but a really rubbish expansion.
All you want from the original...
But still, this is a criticism of Plaid Hat. This isn't a criticism of the game, is it?
So, but anyway, gameplay-wise, the reason why I like it as well is that it's very simple and easy to learn. It's all based on the dice.
Yeah.
So you effectively roll the dice and you can just do actions based on that.
I don't think it's simple.
I think it's pretty simple.
I think you're saying that because you learn the game by someone teaching it you. Reading a Plaid Hat rulebook is a real pain in the face.
Well, no, but there is. Well, you'd hope that in most board gaming groups, there's going to be someone who's read the book and is going to teach the game.
Yeah.
So working on the assumption that someone's going to teach you how to play the game, I think it's pretty simple because it's all based on the dice just tell you what you can and can't.
Yeah,
do.
I do like that action system.
Not for the most part, those actions are very easy that you can pretty much do anything you want, right? But as a negative to the game, there are some times where you just roll terribly.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you've picked weird characters, for example, right, that maybe don't have a 2+ on them or something like that, you'll sometimes feel a little bit sort of sidelined.
Yeah, that's one of the criticisms in the base game, isn't it? That certain characters should just do
what they're meant to do.
Like Loretta should just cook.
Yeah, for example, I have played Loretta, and at any point where my thing is, my secret objective, for example, is go and find X whatever, and my other survivor is off dealing with an entirely different problem, I can't feasibly deal with that.
You look like a traitor,
if I don't do that.
This is one of the talking about traitors. That's one of the best for me. That's what makes Dead of Winter the best hidden traitor game.
The hidden threat.
No. It's because in Battlestar Galactica, right? I'm a pilot, right, and I'm a Cylon, right, and I'm in my Viper, and there are raiders there, and I don't shoot them.
You're definitely
I'm a Cylon. Yeah. Now, within Battlestar Galactica, you can justify that by saying, well, it's hard to be a pretend pilot, Cylon, because it's such an overt physical role. Okay, if I'm the president and I'm not playing quorum cards, I'm a Cylon. There's no reason for me as a player to not do that. There's no reason as a player to not make an optimum move in Battlestar Galactica. In Dead of Winter, because of the secret, and I would call them selfish, objectives, if you tell me that you can't play a food card, it doesn't mean you're a traitor. It could mean your objective says to hoard food. And while that might irritate me, you aren't a traitor.
And that's the thing that I think, originally when I was thinking about Dead of Winter and The Long Night, is that there is sometimes an alpha game aspect to it, which I detest, where it's like, you need to go to the police station. If you don't go there, what are you doing on your turn, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that the hidden agenda is in there, and there's always that threat of the traitor.
Yeah.
Like maybe like, why are you sending me to go there, kind of thing, or you can bounce it back and forth. And you can mitigate that alpha game-ness and get away with doing something else. But mainly because you probably wanted to do it.
Yeah, but there's also like, hey, you need to go to the police station because there's guns. Yeah, I do, but there's also guns at the gas station, so I'm going to the gas station, deal with it.
Yeah.
Like, exile me if you want, but you probably won't, because I'm not the traitor. I'm just playing my own game. I'm still going to help people. Yeah. And that's one of the key things on the traitor as well. When you're the traitor in BSG, you just tank it for everyone.
Yeah.
That's all you do. And that can be fun, but whereas in Dead of Winter, there has to be like, you can't just be like, I'm going to get all my characters killed so our morale drops. Ha ha ha. Like, you have to also have fulfilled your objective.
Yes.
So weirdly, the players, i.e. not the traitors, often will act like traitors to fulfill their objectives, and the traitor will often behave like a player to fulfill their objective, which is what creates that balance.
Yeah. I mean, and we've only had the traitor actually appear once.
Yeah, there's always been.
In all the times we played. It's always been like, are you doing that because you're just being selfish, or are you actually trying to do something?
I much prefer games where there's not definitely a traitor. Like the first half of BSG to me is more fun than the second half because it's. Have we got a Cylon? No, guys, I don't think we've got a Cylon at the table. And as a Cylon, that's such a beautifully powerful thing to say. You know.
I think going back to the long night itself, I think the super zombies that are added with Raxon are fascinating to play with, and I love the mechanic that's built into them, where you can kill them, but then you roll a dice to see what happens.
Yeah,
you could have killed them, or they could have done something and got away.
Yeah.
So it gives them the added impetus. As it's very easy to kill them. You just need that 2+ for your guy with the rifle.
Yeah, but I really like the raider aspect because it just makes the board that much smaller.
Yeah, it's a small world.
And like they take up spaces on things, so you've got to get in, be extra quick.
Interesting as well with the raider aspect of things, because in the demo game that we played, we ended up dealing with the bandits by using zombies against them.
Yeah, we use
because they count as player characters on the tabletop. So interestingly, it had that almost moralistic feel going on in the background, where it's like, is it right for us to just be killing these?
Really,
guys?
That sounds like a really pretentious thing to do. Did you even think for a second, was it right to be killing bandits with zombies?
No, but I thought this is a bit harsh on the bandits kind of thing. Like, oh my god, they just got ripped apart by zombies. Like we lured them here and then ran away. It feels like a bad thing to do, but then it adds to that zombie survival aspect of things because you're sitting there thinking, it's us or you.
I think of all the games that we've talked about so far, Dead of Winter is the best looking game. Like the art on the cards and like the board is absolutely brilliant, like that Arctic look to it, and the character pieces are like that is exactly how you do this game. You don't need to do fancy minis, right? Those character standees are beautiful.
The zombies in the Long Night, the zombie standees.
Oh, different.
There's loads of kids and stuff, aren't there?
Yeah. And again, it just adds that much more.
It's another thing that the Long Night has over.
This is killing me that I haven't played the Long Night.
The other Dead of Winter is that the quality of the rest of the game components is decidedly better.
Really?
Yes. In the original game, it comes with those paper locations, like paper thin locations.
Yeah, they're just laminated.
In the big one, they're big, thick boards.
The cardboard.
And
it just feels nicer.
Yeah, there are much more details going into. You can actually see a lot more of the detail in the base. And in a lot of the locations and things like that. And all the item cards are a bit weirder and sometimes a little bit zanier as well. There are some things added in there which add to the Raxon feel of stuff. So there are things like weird pulse rifles and things like that. And it's going to take things a bit.
I think one of the best and worst at the same time things about, Dead of Winter is that exposure dice.
Yeah.
Because that's drama in everything you do.
Yeah.
But it's also potentially, we talked about player elimination in Formula D. That's potentially like a game ruiner, right there.
Yeah.
Because turn 2, someone through no fault of their own rolls that, gets a bite. They lose both their characters.
That aspect of things in the sense that because you're always going to come back into the game in some way.
You're always going to cut character. If you get 2 characters killed from bites at the start of the game, your morale is tanked down so far. You've probably lost the game.
But you can still try and fight to secure it, and you can try and beat the crisis cards by that extra bit to raise the morale back up, and it changes the story that you write when you play the game.
I know, but all of that is exceedingly difficult.
Yeah, but that's actually one of the things that I really enjoy about Dead of Winter, in that it's actually a really difficult game.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, but I think that's one of the problems is that exposure die. If that exposure die is in the game when you're playing and no one's a traitor, fine. You can all band together and beat the morale problem that you've had, like we've done in a game before. But if you get a bad roll on the exposure die and there's a traitor,
but isn't that fascinating though? Because that traitor is then capitalising on the bad luck of the other people in the settlement, and it sort of feeds into that evil nature of the human.
If you were playing a 20-30 minute game, I agree. But when Dead of Winter is meant to be like a 2-hour jobby, I think that's a little, like, to compare it to BSG, there's nothing that can happen at the start of BSG that's as apocalyptic
But I think
as that 1 in 12 chance.
There are ways though to mitigate the dice by using gas.
There are,
and there's also moving to locations so that you don't affect others is also another way of doing this. But
I agree with all of this. I'm just saying that we talked about player elimination in Formula D, and you were very poo-pooey of that. For me, you're almost talking about game elimination.
But I don't think the game suffers.
I'm not saying. I said that this exposure dice is one of the best and worst thing. I don't think the game shouldn't have it. I just think it can be so unrelentingly punished. I can't think of any co-op game that has as potentially crushing a 1 in 12 chance every time. Potentially every turn.
I kind of like that, but one of the things that one of the aspects of the game that I feel is seemingly almost redundant is some of the cards in the deck are those wanderer cards.
Helpless survivors.
Helpless survivors and survivor cards, right? Most of the time when we've played the game, people have picked those up and just not done anything with them.
Yeah, because helpless survivors suck.
They are effectively quite useless and they just hurt you.
Helpless.
No, but there are also the ones that give you survivors.
Yeah, that's just good. People always play that.
It can be bad. Because more people at the colony, more people to feed, more people that you can't then use in the crisis.
Yes,
so you're looking
more actions.
More actions, but also
potentially good.
But for me, the long night helps solve that because there are people who come in the long night who deal with helpless survivors, and helpless survivors actually makes them good.
Yeah.
But,
I just feel that they're an aspect of the game that feels somewhat underwhelming. Because one of the interesting things about people who have played Dead of Winter is most people thought those cards were mandatory. When you draw them, you play them immediately, and that's not what you do.
No.
Now imagine the game if that was the way. That would be very different.
I agree, but I think the helpless survivors too. I think the helpless survivors. If you're going to talk about theme, they are so thematic.
Helpless. I get the idea of helpless survivors. But it's when you draw a whole bunch of these cards into your hand that are gain 2 survivors and 1 helpless survivor, or whatever, things like that.
Yeah.
Well,
more often than not, they're not that worth playing.
No, I agree.
Yeah, and it means that the card just feels a bit superfluous. Whereas every other card that you pick up, from weapons to books to items to everything, is decidedly more useful to you.
I like that though.
It's always difficult to justify playing them.
Yeah.
Because of how much harder it makes the game for everyone.
Because if you play two more survivors,
if you talk about those, what would have been interesting when you talk about the moral decisions in the game and whatever, would be imagine if there was a crisis card that was like there were 2 of these crisis cards in the game called Zombie Swarm or whatever, right? And it's you need either all this stuff to stop it or one of those survivor cards. But and if you fail the check, you lose X amount of morale. Mm-hmm. But if you sacrifice one of these survivor cards, you might lose a morale. Do you know what I mean? You roll the exposure die, and on a result,
maybe
you've lost morale. But otherwise, you basically just fed the zombies.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? These helpless survivors.
Just to me, it's one aspect of Dead of Winter that just doesn't feel as exciting as the rest of the game.
I get what you mean. Most of the stuff with time when you find something, it's ooh.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, the bonus you get of an extra action doesn't
always outweigh the penalty to everybody else at the table.
Doesn't quite feel like it outweighs.
However, you are helping your own game, and that's why Dead of Winter works, because you're more likely, especially you might have the one that says have more survivors than anyone else.
If that's the case, then definitely you're going to be playing those cards.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. But that's
most of the time when we play Dead of Winter,
I will always play my survivors because I like to have lots of.
From the games that we've played, I don't think that I've ever seen anyone really play those survivor cards.
Yeah.
Most people stick with 2, maybe get an extra 1.
Yeah, I like Dead of Winter.
Yeah.
But I find it's not another Pioneer game. I really want to play Long Night.
For me, the Crossroads cards make the game.
Agreed. More than any other thing.
Yeah, and I really hope that Plaid Hat make more Crossroads.
It's a fascinating thematic game.
Is
to push forward.
Are Crossroads cards essentially the legacy element of this game, and it's Dead of Winter. I mean, I think Dead of Winter is obviously not that I've played Risk Legacy, but a lot better than Risk Legacy. But are we going to see the pandemic legacy with Crossroad cards? Do you know what I mean? Well, the Crossroad card that is as good the Crossroad game that's as good as Pandemic
Well,
Legacy.
they're going to take the Crossroad cards into another game.
Yeah, but they've been saying it's
Yeah,
for ages.
yeah,
haven't
No, but
Like-
it's a very easy thing to do, isn't it? You just take the Crossroad cards and you translate them into a different game.
I agree. You could have said the same thing about the Legacy format, but Pandemic Legacy didn't just take Risk Legacy's format and put it onto Pandemic. They really built on that Legacy idea, didn't they?
But
So-
Blood put a lot of effort into the actual.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
when I want to see it.
Yeah.
Like, imagine what if the game's more stripped down than Dead of Winter, and the Crossroads are a bigger part of it? Because one of the criticisms some people have is that Crossroads cards are like a flavour, rather
Because
than
The problem with that though is that if the Crossroad cards don't have the potential to affect you every turn, you get a symptom of what happened with Above and Below, where if you don't, that becomes the exciting part of the game, and if you don't do that, you're basically just playing a Euro game.
Yeah, no.
So,
I
if
think
you're not
that's-
going
I
to
think
make,
that's a really
if
good
you're not
point.
going to make the Crossroad cards, something that could potentially happen on every player's turn, and are an integral part of the game constantly, they'll lose their effect. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Like if they do almost imagine to what we often said Avalon was to Battlestar.
Yeah.
Imagine if they do something to Dead of Winter, but maintain that Crossroad idea. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like imagine 8-Minute Empire with Legacy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, Dead of Winter is here on my list, where it is, because it's a heavily thematic game.
Yeah,
It does
yeah.
exactly what it
Yeah.
says, exactly what it set out to do. It was
Yeah.
going to make a zombie apocalypse game that was more about human interaction and the people surviving than it was about just killing zombies.
AKA
Yes.
a good zombie
Yes.
game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not
yeah.
a George A. Romero.
Yeah.